I'm inspired by the music. Why you think your favorite rapper couldn't do this? Started rapping back when it wasn't a movement. Now I'm popping, got you feeling, thinking who this? That's the truth, I started seen and done it all. From gold fishing now.
What's up, Internet? Welcome to the second episode of the No Limit podcast with me, Kupano. For this week, I'm chilling with one of the founders of the Anarchadium YouTube channel, none other than Menzi, aka Anarchadium. You do go by Anarchadium, right? Or it's just for the brand?
Well, nobody really calls me Anarchadium.
Really?
Yeah, it's just my Twitter and my social media, but people call me Menzi.
For the longest time, I've just been thinking that's your nickname, like that's just you.
Literally nobody calls me. Maybe like when I'm walking, a guy who knows it will shout it, but like my friends, they don't call me that. They call me Menzi. Yeah, that's it, Menzi.
And are you a model? I saw somewhere that I think you used to model. Or
no, I'm not a model, but I like modeling, if that makes sense. But I'm not a professional model. But I mean, like if you go on my Instagram, I'm always like taking model pictures, topless photos.
The reason I'm asking is while googling you, I found your pics on like a modeling agency.
Oh, I was part of an agency, but not for modeling. It was more for advertising. So auditioning for ads and stuff like that. Like I used to audition for adverts like a few years ago. For like 2 years I was auditioning for ads, but then I just stopped doing it.
Why?
Yeah. Because
isn't the money good then?
The money is good, but you have to get the money. So
okay.
Out of like 2 years of auditioning, I got like one ad.
In 2 years?
Yeah, it's hard, man. And also like I just didn't like the way that I felt after auditions. It's just weird, like the stuff they make you do, like dancing and sometimes just weird stuff, man. Like it just felt weird to me, so I just stopped doing it.
I don't know why we still like do that. This thing of people dancing or singing in adverts. Why can't you just sell me what you want to sell without making people dance?
Yeah, well, they only make black people dance, though.
Okay, that's true.
Yeah, see,
that's definitely true.
But yeah, I guess, hey man, I don't know, man. I don't know why. But this advertise is very white space, so maybe their perception of black culture is dancing and singing. I don't know.
No, they must cut that out.
Yeah.
Not always dancing.
Yeah.
They must cut that out. Let's talk about you. Where are you from?
I was born in Davidson.
Okay.
Yeah, my parents were both from Davidson, and then at about 5, my grandparents from my mother's side moved to Durban, and then I spent some time there, like grade 1 and grade 2, and then I came back to stay with my mother in Joburg. My mother was young when she had me, so I had to be with my grandparents, and then when my mother got a job and figured out like her life and stuff, I came back to Joburg to stay with my mom and dad. Yeah.
So you just grew up in Joburg?
Yeah, most of my life I've been in Joburg. Yeah. Since like grade 3 I've been in Joburg.
Yeah, that's me as well.
Yeah.
I can't imagine myself like living anywhere else except overseas. Like not anywhere else in the country, not Cape Town, not Durban.
Yeah, no, I've never lived there.
Cape Town, for Cape Town,
I've never lived in Cape Town.
Yeah,
Cape Town is very beautiful. Probably the most beautiful city in this country.
Yeah. It's
just beautiful. It feels like you're in another country. When you're in the upper side of Cape Town, like the more affluent side. But yeah, man, it's just too slow for me. I don't mind the racism because I don't care. I'm not really afraid of white people or whatever. Yeah. But I think it's just too slow. Like it's a very slow place. It's a place you go to relax and chill. A place you go to retire. But I think as a 20-something-year-old in Cape Town, man, it's a bit of a struggle.
For me, that's Pretoria. When I go to Pretoria, 2 hours feels like 6 hours. I can't chill in Pretoria.
Really? Pretoria was not a vibe.
Pretoria is a vibe, it's clean, it's nice, but I can't chill there.
Yeah.
Like just on a random day, just to go hang out there, it just feels like 2 hours or 6.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to the fast pace.
It's very super fast.
Yeah, and I can keep up with that. So when I'm like there, it feels like, what am I doing? It's just slow.
I get you.
music are you playing right now? I know you're big time into music.
Right now I'm on Spotify. So with Spotify, it introduces you to music like every week.
Yeah.
So I'm discovering a lot of indie people. So stuff I listen to, that's not really on heavy rotation.
Yeah.
But it's mostly indie hip hop most of the time, and then I also try to jam local music. Like I jam like a guy called Mo Otto just dropped. I was jamming his stuff. So local indie hip hop, 80% of the time I'm listening to indie hip hop.
As speaking of South African hip hop, is it conducive to like introducing new artists? Because it always feels like niggas are just bubbling under, and then they are the top 5 or 6 guys who are just dominating. Especially for like the past, I think, 5 years, it's just been a rotation of the same guys. Casper, aka KO, Questa, that group, Ricky Rig.
Yeah, I think, man, I don't know. I think breaking into commercial hip hop in SA is extremely difficult. I think it's just difficult in general, or even overseas. But at the end of the day, if something is dope, we must be able to identify something that's dope, even if a lot of people aren't jamming. You know, like sometimes I feel like sometimes Casper drops music that's not that good, but we'll jam it because he's the commercial guy.
Yeah.
I feel like AKA has moments where he drops songs that I think aren't that good, but people will jam it. You know, like I always say, like SA is a very easy crowd. You know, if something is hyped, people are gonna jump on it. I think we as people must be able to identify something that's good, even if 5 people like it. Because that's the only way these guys are gonna come up. You know what I mean? Because I know a lot of guys that make amazing music that everyone ignores simply because the next man is ignoring it.
Yeah.
I've seen people ignore music until someone who has a voice says this is cool, and then all of a sudden he's listening to it and says, oh, actually it is cool. So people need to kind of understand why they're listening to music. Are you listening to it because it's hyped, or do you actually enjoy the stuff you're hearing? Like, is your ear actually enjoying it? And until we can all literally like exercise that opinion, like, and be honest about what our ears are hearing, it's the only way these indie guys are gonna pop. Because I don't care if someone has 3 followers. If the shit bangs, I'm gonna play that shit. You know what I mean?
That's
so
true.
even for microwave boys, I've had people send me songs that I've never heard of in my life. And if the song is dope, I'm playing the song.
It's actually one of the things that I enjoy about Microwave Boys. The fact that you're always putting on unknown artists. Like when the credits are all at the end. Yeah, because you know, when I started my channel, when I was researching, I used to see a lot of SA YouTubers, just a few. They would always play like, even when you watch like promo videos or like on YouTube from local guys, they play international music. They're playing like Travis Scott, they're playing. So for me, it doesn't really make sense. So I was just trying to prove a point basically, because half the people you heard on Microwave Boys, you've never heard of in your life, but there's nobody who said that song was whack. Every song was dope. So I was just trying to prove that point, that people are choosing music because it's hyped, not because it actually sounds nice. Because there's a local guy who can make your video dope with his music, but because he's not famous, you're not gonna put his stuff on. You know what I mean? So that doesn't make sense if I'm trying to create a South African YouTube community and then play international music. It's like, it doesn't make sense. You know, everything has to come full circle. So if I'm pushing a local YouTube, the song has to be a local song. You know what I mean? And that's basically the whole intention of it. And also just to show that a lot of people who consume media don't realize that there's actually an underground culture of music, video, art, whatever, right? So we need to show people that there's actually a lot of local guys who are underground, who are creating cool stuff. What else do you do outside of like YouTube and Anarchadium?
Okay, well, my day job is I work for a production company. So I'm a producer for television and an editor as well. So I edit for TV.
Were you the editor on, I think this is Africa on BT?
Yeah, well, I was the one of the producers and the editor for This Is Africa. Yeah.
The show was cool.
You watched it?
Yeah, quite a few episodes.
Yeah. I helped edit and produce that.
No, it's cool. It's cool. So why start YouTube, especially in a country where I think at the time that it was just crazy, the community was very small, and you were just one of those people who were like, I'm gonna do this thing.
Yeah, well, I was inspired by Americans, because in America YouTubing is like hectic.
It's a culture on its own.
Every second person has a channel. Every second person has a podcast. Like it's like a thing. It's normal. Everybody has a channel. Everybody knows. So basically, when in Joburg, I think when I started my channel, a lot of people. It was at a time where when I started my channel, it was a time where Cedric, photographer, and Austin, also photographers, were kind of coming up as photographers, and photography was like the vibe in Joburg. Everybody wanted to be a photographer because of Cedric. Cedric used to, I know he's very huge now, he's popping, but before, back in the day, Cedric used to walk around Brown and just take photos of people. He had a whole thing called Everyday People's Photography.
I think that still is handled on Instagram.
Yeah. But that used to be an actual thing. He used to literally go in the streets for free and just take photos of people who looked nice, portraits, and and he became famous from that. Like, people would literally want a photo taken by him, So at that point, he inspired a lot of young people to be photographers. All of a sudden, these photographers started popping up, also doing exactly what he does, Everyday People's, which is dope. But at the time, I was more into video because as much as I love photography, I just felt like the most visually expressive medium is video, or like movies, whatever, because I used to watch a lot of movies. So then I used to watch my roommate Callie introduced me to like a vlogger called Casey Neistat from America. And then he was just doing like cool stuff with video, and he just made it look very easy, so I just jumped. So then I just decided I'm going to be a vlogger because there's not much vlogging happening in Joburg. And then I started broke niggas with my friends. And then at the time, people really were like, it was more, I don't know, I think they found it weird. It's just a bunch of guys. And then, it just caught on eventually. Like, after like a year, it took about a year for that show to catch on. And then I just started pushing like the YouTube thing, trying to like grow the space in Joburg, not actually South Africa. South Africa is big, but Joburg specifically. Because everybody in Joburg was taking photos, and everybody in Joburg was like either fashion or photography, and that was like, if you say the word influencer, it's always a fashion or photography, and I'm like, but influencer is an influencer. If I start a channel and then 10 kids start a channel because of my channel, that's influencing. If people watch No Limit podcast and then start their own podcasts, that's influencing. Influencing is not just about fashion or photography. And for some reason, every time we had that conversation, it was always fashion and photography. So Cedric influenced people to be photographers. The same way some South African YouTubers influenced others to start their channels. They are influencers. And for me, as much as I don't consider myself an influencer or consider, let's say, Sibu an influencer, he is influencing people. So I think some people are influencers whether they're aware of it or not. But either way, it's fine. Like Wasabi is not an influencer. He doesn't walk around saying he's an influencer. And I don't think he thinks he's an influencer, but whether he likes it or not, he is one, because he's influenced people to do stuff, to start stuff, so that term is very like,
it's loose.
It's very loose, yeah.
There was actually like the recent controversy of brands collaborating with influencers, and it seemed like it didn't gel well when people were complaining.
Yeah, well, the relationship with influencers and brands, when it comes to traction and result, for example, like it's not working, it's ineffective. But the reason why I personally respect and support influencers is because they're just like black people who are using themselves as brands to make money.
Sure.
So I respect the fact that influencers can secure money and create a career out of it. So I'll always like back influencers or anyone who has an influencer job. Because one of my friends is an influencer, Tato Mahaba. Yeah, he's an influencer. So I can respect that hustle. I can respect influencing as a hustle, and I'll always support like black people creating a whole new career out of that. Because it's actually a new career for us in this generation. There was none of that shit 10 years ago, you know. So, but when it comes to their effectiveness, as in their act, like if they do something, do people respond? It's ineffective, you know what I mean? Because I've never seen an influencer push a brand and then I say, oh, actually I actually wanna buy that. Yeah, the last time I saw actual influencing happen in this country, just generally, was with Casper Nyovest, where I saw kids with ponytails, literally. I used to walk around malls and see kids with ponytails. That's influencing.
Because of him.
So when it comes to the effect of it, the result of it, nothing really happens. But I respect the hustle of it.
But then, don't you think it's because the brands that are sponsoring our influencers are more like top tier brands? They're not brands that the everyday individual who follows you has access to.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of them do for like higher end brands.
Yeah,
I think
it's
true.
Some
like
influencers are sponsored by like maybe whiskey brands and stuff.
Yeah.
When niggas are chilling, it's just Heineken or Black or whatever.
Yeah,
it's not that.
Well, I think like a friend of mine, like I said, Tato, he gets very high end brands. But also we can argue that maybe those brands just want more black people to buy that, because maybe they have a big white consumer database, and maybe they'll use black people to say that, you know, like I think black people would like this as well. Let's see how they feel about it, and also yeah, man, I think it's such a complex thing, and like sometimes brand alignment is wrong. Sometimes people get influenced by the wrong brands. Like there was a whole huge thing about a few years back where influencers were getting Cavellas, trying to push the whole Cavella brand, wearing Cavellas, and it backfired because people were saying like, you guys used to diss Ikotani for wearing a Cavella, but now in the north, when you wear a Cavella, now we must jump on the brand. And a few years ago, you guys were the same people making fun of people like us who rock a Cavella, you know. And that's happening a lot, I've noticed. Like, for example, for the real influencer is the hood, you know, like us. The people who used to make fun of are the people we wearing the clothes, you know. Kids used to wear ikapa. Now, in the suburbs, they're wearing ikapa. Ricky Rick, his whole vibe is from the township. His whole vibe.
I think him and Okemalu.
No, you see, but Okemalu wear gas, so what he's doing, it's actually where he's from. He's from like the townships in Durban, or because I'm Durban. So who Okemalu is actually who he is, from his upbringing. But in Ricky's case, for example, he's referencing the hood. You know what I mean? Because like a Kulangi gas. You know, so and these are people we used to make fun of. Sporty, gold tooth, rings, gold jewelry, Spanzula, Cavella. We used to make fun of these people, and we used to say people now in like commercial spaces in Joburg, we used to make fun of people. That was from the cast, whatever the case is. So that's real influence, but the brands obviously aren't going to go to a cast and get niggas from the hood to rock this stuff. They're going to get people who are in closer proximity, you know, who are more, I guess, more groomed to understand those spaces and use them. And it's an injustice to I want to a cast. So it's like a very big conversation that I'm still trying to understand. But you know, influencing is influencing. Whether, you know what I mean, we need to actually get back to the real definition of it. But like I said at the beginning, the hustle of it is something I respect. So if you're black and you're an influencer and you're making money, I will 100% respect and support that hustle. But if we are being honest about the actual results of that influencing, the results are non-existent.
Is Anarchadium just a YouTube channel, or it's also like a creative company Is it a company that's registered or what?
No, it's not. I did register the trademark of the name,
Okay.
but as a company I did register it, but I'm not registered as a company anymore because I wasn't actually making actual income
Okay.
from Anarchadium, so I stopped. I just trademarked the name, but I didn't register it as an official company. And Anarchadium does live on YouTube for now. It's just video content creation basically, and using video to kind of create like a convergence culture with all other mediums, you know. Because with video you can do a lot. You can add music elements. There's a lot you can incorporate artistically when you're using video.
Yeah.
So that's basically what Anarchadium is right now. And it's like a hub for content on YouTube. The same way like if you watch Complex, it's like different types of videos. If you watch like Noisy or GQ, there are like 5 different types of content in one channel. Yeah, so that's basically what I'm trying to do with Anarchadium.
Do you think that would work in South Africa, like a channel similar to Complex, where you have all those different contents? Because looking at Anarchadium, it's Microwave Boys, and then it's the short films of broke niggas, and then it's the film reviews. One could say like those are completely 3 different things, elements, and to house them on one channel, does it work?
For me, I think it works because you are basically trying to cater to different markets. There are people who don't like Microwave Boys, who could like reviews on tab, you know. And there are people who could like broke niggas and not like reviews on tab. So people can go on the channel for their own different reasons, but you see the numbers, they still come in. So for me, I think that would be perfect for if there was more of that in this country. So just to give that variety, because with variety you introduce different markets. You know what I mean? So if I make a show about, I don't know, dogs, and then I get like 5,000 white people who watch it because they like dogs, but they don't like broke niggas. You know what I mean? So it helps to try. For me, I think it's good to do that, just to try and tap into different markets to see what people like and what people don't like.
So what's the plan for the channel moving forward? More shows there? Or?
Yeah, I mean, ideally it would be nice to have like a lot of shows on rotation, but also the main plan is just make money off the channel. You know, I think I've been doing YouTube enough for a long time, and I just feel like I think it's time I must try and align myself with money. You know, it's not just about passion anymore.
Yeah, look at it as a business.
Yeah, at the beginning it was just fun, man. Like, cause I didn't even know where it was going or how big it would be. So now I just want to try and create content that could make me money. Still keep it like dope, but make sure that somehow there's some sort of money coming in. I feel like it's the only way I could sustain maybe 5 to 6 shows and do what I want to do or envision to do. I just need some sort of income from that to assist in that.
And I feel like sponsorship as well is like a big part of that. Like of the revenue that one should be making from YouTube, especially with the way that YouTube has been popping off, especially I think in the last 2 years in South Africa, where the audience has been growing now. You look at a lot of people from 3 years back, you could only get around 500 views. Now you get channels where you get Zuki and Karab. Consistently their channel hits over 10K every week. Whereas I think a few years ago there was a layoff, especially for black YouTubers in South Africa. So that's something that brands should be looking at in terms of let's sponsor these channels. Because that's very huge also, like internationally, with brands getting involved and all that. Is that something that's viable in South Africa? I know like some people do get sponsorship.
It is viable, but I think brands in SA are still very reluctant. Because I think brands, they prefer a more controlled environment, and YouTube is not. It's very uncontrollable. It's a very uncontrollable environment, and when brands are involved, they want that element of control, you know, because their brand identity is very sensitive to them, so they struggle to to fully endorse YouTubers or whatever the case, it takes a while. Even for people like Sibu, he still struggles to secure brands, even though his channel is very clean, very brand friendly. He still struggles, because they're just very reluctant, because they just know they're aware that YouTube is uncontrollable, and these young people, they're uncontrollable, and they know that they can't come in and tell them what to say or what to do. They have to just accept the channel for what it is, and then decide to be on board, and that for them is very difficult for them, because they want some sort of surety that, or guarantee that the brand is still safe and doesn't have a bad look around it, you know what I mean? So they're very careful on YouTube or who they endorse. But to answer your question, it is possible, and I think it should be happening. But it'll happen eventually. It's happening now slowly, but like with makeup artists, I know they're very chilled about that. If you look at Mihlali, I'm pretty sure she has a sponsor.
She's killing the game.
Yeah, I don't know it for sure, but I'm 100% certain that she's getting sponsored, and so her environment is more controlled because she's very straightforward. It's makeup. So if a makeup brand gives her stuff, they pretty much know what they're gonna get from her. But now if you're gonna endorse broke niggas, they don't know what the fuck is gonna happen on that episode. And so they're not gonna sponsor that episode. But if let's say reviews on tab, it's very straightforward. It's film. So Stokiniko knows exactly. They review movies. That's what we're getting from them. So I can jump on that. I know exactly what I'm getting from it. Microwave Boys is tricky because you don't know what they're gonna say in an episode. They could be sponsored by Axe on one episode, and then we're making fun of Black Coffee, who's an Axe ambassador. They don't know what's gonna happen, so they'll be very reluctant of jumping on it. They'll tell us, please don't say this, please don't say that. And there could be a back and forth there, So they want something controlled and something that is guaranteed, that they know the outcome of, and then they'll jump on. So if you're looking for brands, just make sure that your outcome is very consistent, so that they can feel more comfortable, endorsing you.
But also, sometimes the viewers themselves are not happy with that brand when you get it. Because I remember, I think it was earlier this year or last year when Microwave Boys had the Savannah sponsorship. People, I saw in the comments that people sometimes complain that some of the comedians that you're bringing on were not even funny. They were bringing down the show and stuff like that. Yeah,
well, you see there, I don't think people were upset at the brand. They want to upset the Savannah. They're just upset at the comedians, And I think, you see there with Savannah, I don't think Savannah wanted us to lie. I don't think they wanted us to lie.
Okay.
Because I said to them, I was like, if these comedians are whack, then we're gonna tell them that they're whack, you know what I mean? And that's exactly what Microwave Boys did. So I think the people weren't necessarily upset at the fact that we got a brand on board. I think they were more upset at the fact that these comedians weren't funny, because what happened for me when I watched it is that Sipo basically upstaged all of them, and I was asking, is that a good look for Savannah? Because Sipo is better than all these comedians, and he's not even a comedian. So what happens now? Because the aim of this brand campaign was to push these comedians who are going to be performing at an event, and they come on the show and they whack. And Sipo is better than all of them. So what happens now? So that kind of got awkward. But Savannah was like, it's fine, it's cool. We just want to make people aware of the event. So the comedians just weren't good enough, I guess, for the show, for the crowd who watches the show. And I think it was dope because that's what you get on YouTube from people. People will be honest. They'll tell you that that shit's whack, you know what I mean? And that's cool. I was cool with that. But
I think it's important. If you're gonna get into YouTube, then you need to know that unfiltered comments are gonna come through as a brand. So you need to be aware of that.
You have to be aware of it. But that's why I say, like, they want to be sure. But I think brands don't really care much.
No, not yet.
Or brands don't really care about the comments. They care about the numbers. So, like, if you use Mihlali, for example, she gets like 100k views, and let's say there's a guy in the comments who's like, I want to suck Mihlali's titties or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Because oh, she's beautiful. I don't think they care about that. I think what they care about is the content that Mihlali's putting out. I think they're aware that YouTube comments are messed up.
Yeah.
But they just know that Mihlali is going to deliver the best YouTube tutorial, and that's what matters to us, really. And the numbers are going to show. And the majority of the people are going to be positive. Not a lot of people will be negative, especially for her type of content. So I don't think they really care about content, about comments.
Of course, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Alright, so second half we joined by Mokali, aka I'm exposing government names.
Yeah, man.
Introduce yourself.
I am Boshali, like you said.
Yeah.
AKA Kyoto Indie. Yeah, man, I work very closely with the homie right here. Yeah.
And what do you do on the channel?
Okay, so like there's a timeline obviously of like the work we've done, but in general I've done most of the motion graphics for a lot of the stuff that's on the Anarchadium channel.
Yeah.
And I've made most of the music as well that's on the channel. So my role really is to help where I can with whatever I can in terms of the content produced on the channel. Yeah.
So like what's the process of you choosing the music on the channel? Is it just someone that you're pumping at the moment, or do you just go through a process of
Like in terms of like choosing music that's out there to put on the
like the indie artists that you put
so
on the channel?
okay, I'm glad you actually asked that. So the plan was from the get-go to try put on up and coming artists.
Yeah.
Or artists who really had something to offer that weren't getting the recognition they deserved, you know?
Yeah.
And it's always stuff that both Menzi and I like. So the process is pretty simple, like it's whatever we're bumping at the moment or whatever just came out, or even if it's not what just came out, but what's out that's really dope that no one seems to know about.
Yeah.
And the whole idea was because, especially with like Microwave Boys, because it gets so many views, we thought it was like the perfect platform to kind of give or shine a light on all these dope artists that we personally feel like, yo man, these dudes are dope, but like not necessarily are out there like that. So the plan was always to leverage that platform that gets so many views to benefit those artists. Yeah.
So niggas shouldn't hit the DMs.
You know what? We're not even. I mean, it's not even like that. Like they're more than welcome to. You know, many have, funny enough, and we've actually used their stuff as well on the. So it's not like something that we don't necessarily encourage, but because we don't get that much mail or DM or whatever, most of the time it's stuff that we source ourselves. Like for example, with the Microwave Boys, some of the artists that have been put on were suggested by Sipo, for example, you know. So at the end of the day, it's a collaborative effort. It's just that most of the time it lands on myself and Menzi. But yeah, man, it's they're more than welcome to hit us up, you know.
One of the Microwave Boys episodes was about, I think one of the most recent ones was support culture in SA.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest complaints was that people holler, or even in the comments or in Twitter, they'd be like, yo, we're trying to get that broke niggas merch, and then that doesn't really translate into sales. Like, would merch work in South Africa, given like that lag from popular shows, Microwave Boys or broke niggas, but still people are not buying merch?
Man, I think the idea of merch, especially in like in SA, in like street culture, because the internet is so young, I feel like the idea of getting merch out there is still also a relatively new thing. Like I do think merch can succeed. I think merch can get to a place where, you know, if you fuck with this, you definitely rock it, you know. I just think that a lot of the things that we're going through in street culture and in pop culture in South Africa is still relatively new. Like a lot of it is still new. We were just having this conversation the other day that, yo, it's crazy how many how many young YouTube channels are popping up now. That's dope. Like, if we were to go back 5, 8 years ago, if we were to go back to when Menzi was starting out, for example, there weren't a lot of them out there, and the idea was always to kind of join that space because I guess Menzi had the foresight, knowing that it's bound to be something amazing, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like all of these things are connected, and merch is like a frontier that's yet to be really like something recognized, and I think it's getting there. Right now, like you said, a lot of it doesn't translate into sales, and that's okay, you know. For now, I mean, we're still building the brand as it is. So while we're building the brand, we're learning the pitfalls, we're learning what to do, what not to do. So it's okay. We're slowly getting there. You know, we've seen with other brands or with other merch that it can get to a place where the support is really there. We just have to be persistent and really put in the work and put out quality content as much as we can.
Also, I think with YouTube, there's originality matter.
Yeah.
The thing is, you see like these challenges or stuff like that everyone does.
Yeah.
So it's a thing of, does originality really matter on that platform? Because you're going to come up with something, someone else is going to do it.
It's tricky,
They're
man.
just
Like,
going to do their own version of it.
it's crazy. A few years ago, there was this concept of, everything is a remix.
Yeah.
Like, yes, originality matters because it stands to place you apart from the rest. But at the same time, I've seen situations where something could be borrowed, something could be, kind of used as a reference, but then ends up being way better. You know what I mean? Like, so I think, yes, originality matters. I think authenticity is important, yes. But at the same time, I think we should recognize that we live in an age where so much is happening, so much. And because of that, there will be situations where we've seen something before. It doesn't necessarily mean that it can't exist in the same space. At this, for example, this is like the perfect example to me. We could create a show like right now that borrows a lot from a show that's popular in the US.
Yeah.
But if we could flip it and add a South African element that is relevant to us, that right there is like you're tapping into a pocket that's like very, very unique at that point.
Yeah.
And because not a lot of it exists, because not a lot of it exists from a South African perspective, that makes it incredible. I think I think we should try to explore and work through as much as we can and learn from all the things that we borrow from and see, because we stand to create a lot more great content that ends up being quite original in the long run, I think. Yeah.
I think it was 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Microwave Broke Niggas released what is actually one of my favorite intros. I think the one in the parking lot, the smoking, the editing, it's incredible.
That's all Menzi, by the way.
It's you.
15K.
Yeah. That's all
And
Menzi.
then a couple of months later, some rappers did that shit.
You know what? It's not even that deep. Like,
Wait, what is the question?
My question is, how pissed were you guys?
Oh.
Because like legit, there was the entire concept didn't change shit. Because I watched the video, like recently this week. I watched their video and I watched yours. Didn't change shit.
do you wanna?
Yeah, well, I was very pissed. I was very annoyed, but because I think weren't really official creative people, but we created a very creative concept.
Yeah.
We were just like chilling, trying to mess around, seeing what works. Wasn't planned, and you know, like it meant a lot to create that. So when somebody did it and kind of like took it, it was a bit annoying. But what was more annoying was, I think it was maybe like a lack of acknowledgement in some sense. I think that's what annoyed us the most. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of stealing ideas, and I personally felt like that was a stolen idea. I don't know. You know, sometimes people do the same thing, and you can see that, hey, they were just in the same train of thought.
Yeah.
But they didn't really take it. Sometimes you can see when people weren't intentionally trying to take something, you can see that they were just thinking the same thing. But you can see when something was just taken, and I think it was taken personally. You know, as much as when it happened, they were obviously acting like they don't know what we're talking about, which I expected. So I think I was upset, but I think the way I approached it for me was okay. I think I approached the situation the right way, because I could have gone on Twitter and they probably would have acted like they don't know who I was.
Yeah.
I could have confronted them in person, probably they would have acted like they don't know who I was. I already knew the way they'd react. So I was just like, let me just take my one and their version, and you guys can decide what is what, because I felt like it was stolen. And yeah, I just wanted to confront the issue. For me, it was just confronting the issue so that they're aware that if you do stuff like that, someone's going to confront you. I wanted to keep quiet and be like, let me let it slide, but I'm like, maybe they felt like it was okay to do that. Maybe they felt like they had a high following, so nobody would really know who we were, so they can just take it and do it, because people do that all the time. They go to people with less followers, take their ideas, elevate their ideas, become huge from them, and then act like they don't know who these guys are. It happens all the time. So I was just like, I had to confront it and get it out there. So my main issue was trying to make sure that, just to show them that what they did was not okay. Because sometimes people will take something and not realize that that's not okay. You know, I see people do that all the time, where they'll take people thinking that they're referencing when they're actually just taking. And to them, it's like, what's the issue? You know. So I think I was just trying to show them that please try not to do stuff like that again. You know, because from their view, they might not have been trying to be malicious. They might be like, let's just do it, man, whatever, you know. But not realizing that you're actually stealing something that took a lot of time to think of. So that's basically what I was trying to do by confronting that situation.
The least they could have done was just acknowledge the fact that at least they could inspire. Like, I feel like that's the minimum.
Ideally, yeah, but to expect that from people, dude, you'll always be disappointed, because some people just feel like they're better than you, or they'll do it better, or whatever they're thinking. But yeah, either way, I just had to confront it. You know what I mean? And I didn't hold a grudge. I don't have any beef with those guys. You know, they must do their thing. They must flourish, whatever the case may be. But I will always confront something when it doesn't sit well with me, especially something that took a lot of time to create. Yeah. Okay.
It's one of my favorite. So I really understand. I feel like I would have confronted them. Because just that thing looks like it took a lot of time and creativity going towards editing it, and even just coming up with that. And then to have someone else just a couple of months later just bite it as it is.
Yeah, man. Yeah, but we did confront it. We just did it in a more strategic manner.
Yeah.
Because like I said, man, if I confronted it on Twitter, I know for a fact they'd be like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know you. I've never heard of you. I know exactly how these people think. I can see it from a mile away the type of responses I'm going to get. So I had to do it in that manner. Yeah. So
do you guys think we could ever get to a point where YouTubers could move in the same manner that, taking someone like Issa Rae, that transition from just a small web series to now having that HBO deal? I think now she has an overall deal there.
And she's producing like a few other shows that are coming.
Yeah. So, like the transition for her from just being that small YouTube creative to now she's out here throwing parties in Yard to Tracy Ellis Ross and shit.
Yeah.
Can South Africans make the transition even if it's just in South Africa?
It's a matter of time. And by that I mean it will take time. Like it will take a long time to get there. Like what we have to understand is the way like YouTube is ever evolving, and it still is evolving in countries where it's like in the US, you know what I mean, where it's such at a high level, it's still evolving. And I feel like here, I mean, it's very different this side simply because, you know, we have so many other constraints and the landscape in general is different, but something like that can happen and will happen. It's just a matter of time, you know. I mean, if you look at, for example, what people like Wasabi have done, or which other YouTubers are on them, like just like narratives, so like people like Uncle Scrooge or Fenton, yeah, Moshe, definitely, yeah. You know, it has happened actually where people who started at YouTube are now in TV.
Moshe and Pharaoh.
Yeah.
YouTubers.
So, but at the level that you're talking about, like with Issa, it can happen and it will. It's just a matter of time. I think so.
Yeah.
I really do think so.
Yeah, man, I just want to, and like, technically it is happening because Moshe is a great example. Moshe literally was creating content on his phone. It wasn't even like what we doing with graphics. It's literally a phone and just a personality. He's on Mzansi Magic, presenting for like 3 shows. He's on The Queen. He just did the reunion for Real Housewives of Johannesburg, being the main host. He's literally the main host. So to answer your question, it's happened. Moshe has made that happen. So Pharaoh has made that happen. She's on MTV. She was on Mzansi as an actor. So it is actually happening. So it's the beginning of it, basically. So yeah, to answer your question, it's happening because those guys are from 100% from YouTube. Moshe is 100% on YouTube. He was YouTubing before me. You know what I mean? So a lot of people want to say, "Oh, Anarchadium, the pioneer, whatever," and that's cool, but I'm not going to sit here and literally front like there's no information on YouTubers before that. And Moshe and Pharaoh were 100% YouTubing before us. Yeah. So so it is happening. They started, but it's going to happen more. I can see Sibu Rab's shows with a lot of famous people. Wasabi literally was on the Mzansi Magic show. Yeah. So yeah, it's happening. It's happening and it's going to happen. It's inevitable, basically.
Yeah.
It's an inevitable thing. It's going to happen.
I think Wasabi has had the best year of any creative this year.
Yeah, for me, I said, Wasabi and Muzi for me had the best creative years. Because Muzi just fucking came out of nowhere. Shot up, you know what I mean, with Afrovision. So Wasabi and Muzi for me, probably the dopest creative years. Just a good 2018 for them personally, from my view, from my perspective.
He's killing. I enjoyed the album. He killed it on The Queen. I think it's the show. Just he's been doing a lot of dope shit.
Super talented.
I recently saw some shit where they said, like African movie, I had no idea it was out. It made like 7 million.
That's like literally one of our favorite conversations. And
then like South African movies that are being headed by black actors, they do like 2 million. That's like at the max. What the fuck is going
Support culture,
man.
Well, I mean, this is my perspective. Like, man, I'm not gonna pretend like I know exactly what the cause of something like that is. Because there's a lot of moving parts and something like that. But one thing I have seen is that, man, Afrikaans people support the fuck out of their own country. Like, they really go out and support their creatives. Like, their followings are so loyal that it's scary. Like, to see, you have to understand the communities are fairly small. Like if we look at the ratio of white and black in our country, we all know that, you know, the percentage of like white to black. So for a community that small to really push something that far, it really says a lot about us, you know, like, and how we look at our creators and our content, you know. That's for me, that's what I took away from like how well these movies do. At least that's the way I've seen it. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. It's Afrikaans people, man, I don't know, they just support people. But the most straightforward thing is in South Africa, black South Africans who make these movies or whatever, I'm trying to take care of their core crowd. Like I had this conversation with Cali. We're very neglectful for people like us, basically. Those people that will watch your movie. And also, why do people watch movies? Like, why do people go to the cinema to watch movies? And the answer is that it's just good marketing. In America, we know about movies because they market the shit out of their movies. Okay,
That's
like,
true.
cool. Like we made an example of Five Fingers of Marseille. The movie probably didn't make a lot of money, probably lost money. But did you guys try? We don't put enough budget into our marketing.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure if you research Afrikaans movies, they're probably marketing it in those areas.
Yeah.
Probably putting up posters and trailers in those areas where there's a core Afrikaans group of people who would be into that. In SA, we don't market our movies. Number is an amazing action movie. There was no marketing. If I don't know your movie exists, I'm not gonna watch your movie.
Actually,
You know
you're
what I
right.
mean? So if for example, I was saying to Five Fingers of Marseille, they were having premieres at like Newtown, Santon. These people aren't gonna watch your movie.
Go to Mapo.
If you go to Maponya Mall and put a poster of starring a cowboy, a gas, you would have made fucking 50 million.
How
Because
many
people are gonna be like, okay, man, this black guy is a cowboy, he's got a gun, action, post. Okay, let's go watch this movie. What's happening here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, number one, black people who make films are very elitist. They go to Santon to premiere their movies. No one's gonna fucking watch your movie in Santon. You know what I mean? No one's gonna watch Namba in Santon. These PR critics, they don't care about your movie. There are kids who are 12 who would watch Namba and go crazy. The movie is amazing. It's an amazing action movie. But nobody knows it's amazing because it was marketed in the wrong places. You know, so for me, it's a marketing thing. It's really that simple. Black Panther made 17 million in this country. Black people went and watched it because of marketing. It's the only reason people went to watch Black Panther. It was just well marketed. People went and watched it. We have the money to pay for the movie. It's not about money, but make us aware that we are considered when you're making this movie. We'll go watch a movie.
Carry on with Menzi's point. I think for me also, I only became of Five Fingers when I went to watch Black Panther, because the marketing for Black Panther was that good. I knew about Black Panther a year before it came out. Like a year before it even started shooting, when they were busy announcing the cast.
Yeah.
That's when I knew, they're making a Black Panther movie. Yeah. And I also think in South Africa, corporate doesn't really get behind our movies. Like, provide the budget for the marketing of those movies.
I mean, I work in advertising,
Yeah.
and my experience in who people want to advertise to has always like shocked me, because for me, like I'm inclined to agree with Menzi on like the hood being, probably the greatest thing you could probably take care of when you're making content, because there's always this thing of appeal. Like, as dope as this thing is, we want it to appeal to this specific demographic because, I don't know, we feel better about that. I don't know, but for example, we went to Comic-Con this year, and there's a movie that's coming up. What is it called? It's the Togoloshi. Yeah, it's called Togoloshi.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I remember wanting there to be an actual Togoloshi movie, like a proper horror, years ago. I remember wanting that. And then when we get there and we see the poster and everything, I'm like, oh, it's happening, but no one knows. Like, and the movie is coming out like now.
November.
Yeah, it's coming out now.
Nobody knows.
Have you seen a trailer? Have you? I get that budget sometimes is you know, an issue. But I also feel like we have things like social media where to push something, you know, sometimes you can get away with not having a huge budget. I mean, Togoloshi is like a huge thing in the hood. Like, who does not know about that?
I think this also might just go back to our conversation about influences. This would be a perfect time to use, especially with like movies, for them to push something as South African movie.
Well, I get you, but also I think we too reliant on social media. You know that, and this is not just the interesting guys. I still know people who have, okay, it's been a while since I've seen this, but people who still have like BBM or mix it, you know, like whatever the case may be. And I think for us to rely too much on social media is a bad thing, because we also need to do some groundwork, you know, like if for example, just as I was speaking about Five Fingers, and I'm like, if these guys hired out, you know, like a groundie, and you brought like a projector, and you were just like seats, and you're like, guys, there are 500 seats to fill for the movie. It's free. Anyone in this neighborhood, come watch this movie. It's free. It's a whole projector, and they come sit and watch Five Fingers, and they enjoy it. For example, those 500 people are gonna be like, again, this movie's dope, whatever. That groundwork marketing, it helps them, and then you put a post up, and they're like, oh, that's the movie we watched. That's the movie we saw a projector.
There's not enough credit put on word of mouth.
Yeah, you need to go to a Mapwanya and go watch it. We were watching this last night for free. That type of groundwork is how to get the hood on your side. These guys aren't on Twitter. Those guys are guys chilling. And this is not. And I'm not saying that people from the hood are behind. I'm just saying that not the people that would consume your stuff aren't on Twitter trying to find the hashtag. You know what I'm saying? And we need to stop relying too much on it. We need to actually go there and say, what do you guys like? Umamako, what does she like to see? Or how many kids do you have? If you saw a cowboy or you started, would you watch it? And you go to them and do surveys and research. Because if you look at people who create successful shows, if you investigate them, they did a lot of research. They go and research, what do these kids want to watch? So if we did more groundwork, especially with film, just put up a projector, a gas, and stop making premieres and inviting PR. Just put up seats in the hood and put a projector and say, 500 people, cut off time. You can watch from outside. You can even watch from your roof. If you can see the movie from your roof, you book. But those people, if they enjoy it, they're going to talk about it. Like, oh, and then when they go to the mall and see the poster, like, oh, yeah, let's see Bugatti. And then, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many other ways. As much as we talk about marketing and no money for marketing, there are strategic ways to market things if you understand who you try to market the crowd to. So we make movies for other people in the world. We don't make movies for South Africans. Nigerian people, they made Bollywood. We used to laugh at Bollywood. Look at the quality of these Nigerian movies coming out now. They're shooting in Ari Alexis, they're shooting movies. There was a lady who got a movie on Netflix, Lion, the Nigerian woman. Because Nigerians, their main focus was, let's make movies for Nigerians. So we were laughing at Nollywood, but Nigerians were eating this shit up. And it pumped so much money into Nollywood. They ended up having enough money to say, let's buy the expensive shit. Now let's make the movies you're trying to make, you know what I mean? Yeah. So the strategy is everything, and if you don't care to understand your crowd, and you studied at some elite school, and you rub shoulders with elite people in Santon, don't ever complain when your movie doesn't make money. Like, don't complain. Just be happy your movie was made. But if you're trying to make money, you need to cater to people, you need to cater to African people, you need to cater to the main demographic. And the township is a humongous demographic in this country. I know there's a lot of educated black people, and we are this big. There's millions of people who would fuck with what you fuck with. If you just cater for them and thought about them and make them realize that you're thinking about them, they'll come and support you. You know what I mean?
Tapelo Mokoena is kind of trying to do this.
Yeah, I heard that he does. He's pushing that.
Taking movies to township.
Kasi movie nights. You know, that's what Tapelo Mokoena is doing is a great start. And it's just that not a lot of people know about it. Like, I recently found out about it. So yeah, that for me is that is the answer for me personally. That is the answer. When you make a movie, a black movie, must never take it anywhere but in those areas. You know what I mean? And I'm telling you, you'll make a lot of money from it.
But you know what you're saying is correct. If you think back to those movies that Sinyaka was making, a couple of it, those were huge in the hood.
Yeah.
Huge. There was that guy, the character that he used to have with the family. Stuff like that was huge. You know?
Yeah, it was huge. It was super. It was huge.
It was huge. You know?
Yeah, I think I think people have a weird relationship with being associated to Ikas. Like I love using Casper as an example because that's one person who said, Bentleys are cool, living that life is cool, but Kasi is the root. That's where it's at. That's where I'm always gonna start. And the strategy has worked every time.
Here's it on lock.
Every time, this new upcoming album,
Casper
the whole sound is quite inspired. Watch that shit work. That stuff works, man, because he understands where the numbers are. He understands where the support is, and I think that's something we have to be cognizant of.
He knows his market and he knows how to
Exactly. Look at it's weird, right? Because look at him knowing his market and doing all that. And then but look at his Instagram. This nigga's going out to Paris, doing the most incredible things. And people seem to think that it's because he appeals to dudes in Santa. Nah. Not even. It's the hood, B. Yeah. It's the hood.
Man.
Yeah.
Yo, gents, this has been an incredible conversation. Fortunately, we're running out of time. We should do this some other time.
Thanks. Thanks for hiring.
Nah,
Hopefully
thank you guys.
Not hopefully, I'm sure you guys will grow. So
Yo,
when it's
thanks.
you must invite us back when it's more subscribers.
No, we definitely will. On that note, we are on YouTube, No Limit Podcast. We are on SoundCloud, No Limit Podcast ZA.